Hello, Internet.
Ryan
Aaron
here.
here.
Uh,
I,
that.
wait,
Well.
wait. Are you going, or do you want me to?
Well, this is kind of confusing with the names and the faces, and you know what. I'll just go. Make things simple. That way, production teams doesn't yell at me later.
All right.
Okay, back on track. Now you guys better shut your fucking mouths out there because I'm about to unleash the biblical plague the internet deserves. And you can stop me if you go to patreon.com/evacstation. evacstation. For less than the cost of expensive facial surgery, you can support our show. And I think we've done that one before. Well, if we have, then let us remind you again to go to patreon.com/evacstation to help us make this show better each and every episode. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the hell out of your out-of-body experience.
Welcome to the After Credits Podcast, the only movie podcast to surgically swap the faces of your co-hosts. I'm your host, Aaron Wasescus Troy, and with me is...
Okay, Ryan, we need to talk.
About what?
I agreed to this bit because, well, it's face-off, and it sounded like a really good idea at first. But, I don't think the face swap works particularly well for the two of us.
Oh, well, how so?
Well, okay, you're gonna call me out on this one, but you look like one of the dudes from White Chicks, and I look like a racist piece of shit. I've been getting looks all fucking day. Can we please just swap back?
Fine. Your vision is terrible anyway.
Wait, we didn't swap... Whatever. Welcome to the After Credits Cast, the only podcast that swaps faces during recording. I'm Aaron, that's Ryan. Let's move on from this silly bullshit.
Lord have mercy.
If you want to follow us on the social medias, their links are down below. There's the Tumblr, the Twitter, the Facebook. They're all there. They're all happy to take your clicks. You can also find us on many platforms of your choice. That includes Peepa, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podcast Addict, as well as patreon.com/evacstation. All of our uploads are up there several days early for your enjoyment. And you can also reach out to us directly if you want to reach out to us, ask us questions, suggestions, all that fun stuff. Aaron says, Troy, where can they send that to?
You can send that to Ready for the Big Ride, baby! Excuse me. Sorry. You can send that to evacstation@gmail.com.
Love it. Absolutely love it. We're doing a fun one this week. Before we jump headlong into this motherfucker, let's do a quick burst of what you're watching. Ryan, what have you been watching?
Well, I actually, because of the way recording schedules are set up, Cagliostro and all that good stuff, I actually got to check out John Wick 3 this weekend.
Ooh.
It was a lot of fun. I loved the action. I am a little disappointed in the story. Which is it's actually really sad because the story and the world building is what really makes the franchise really good, but I think it's starting to realize that it's kind of a cash cow at this point, and so it's like elongating itself so that they can do more movies, and I'm like, no,
I hear that.
You're losing the authenticity.
You sold out, man. You sold out.
Fantastic. The action scenes were still fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Though.
I've heard good things. I have not seen it. My dad actually stopped by earlier today, dropped off some boxes for moving, and told me he had just seen it. I didn't get to see any of the movies, actually. It's on my list. It's just something I haven't gotten to yet because, well, I missed the first one and didn't get to it at all yet. And the second one came out, I'm like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Now the third one's out, I'm like, I gotta get to this soon before they just have a whole, 20 of them lined up, you know?
If you like brutal martial arts action. It's really, really good. And it will hook you with the really interesting setting that they also kind of piece out to you. So it's, like, honestly, the first two are fantastic, and the third is really good. But, yeah, you start to see signs of wear in the third one.
And he made it sound like there's going to be a fourth one, which I'm like, I'm not doubting.
That's why I'm so sad. They actually had the perfect out for the third movie. They literally had the perfect out, and they were like, nah, you know what, let's set up 4. And I'm like, damn it.
What's funny, too, is that based on the premise I heard of the first one, I know about it loosely, but based on the premise, it felt like something that was like a one-and-done, like, very good one-off thing. And it was surprising for it to even get a sequel. And now it's like, oh, we're just going to keep milking this. And it's like, guys, you had a good thing. Just know when to quit. Know when to back down.
Yeah, so the first one, you definitely could have ended right there. The second one, it was just cool because we wanted to see more of that world. And the second one, inherently left the tie for the third one. And that's like, okay, a trilogy is fine. We get more John Wick brutally hurting people. All right, that's fine. 3 is cool. And then it's just like, wait, guys, stop. Come back.
Well, I'll give you a quick rundown of my week. So I didn't get a lot done. I had to watch this movie. I had to get some moving stuff done, and I also worked on some future stuff for the podcast, including new thumbnails and new scripts for the upcoming Star Wars season, which will be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I figured since I already have seen the movies, I can kind of get a pretty solid rundown of the scripts, and then just make up trivia and the discussion questions as I watch them. But at least getting the meaty stuff, the stuff that is cemented, I get that out of the way. So, but things I did get done this week, I did watch Flash Season 3. We finally got through all that. I've seen it already, but she hadn't, and yeah, it's about as.
Can you remind me? Can you remind me what villain is in Season 3?
That's the Savitar season.
Oh man, that's that's a pretty good one.
Not my favorite. Not my favorite. It's not my favorite. I think 2 is my favorite I've seen so far. We have just started 4, so I don't know what to make of it yet. We're only like maybe 2 episodes in, so we're getting there. We're getting there.
You didn't dig Evil Remnant Barry?
You know, evil speedsters, I get it. You know, the only way you can really challenge a speedster is with another speedster. You pick
because
as the hero. Shit. It's a little like, we've been here before. What are you doing?
I mean, the thing that I liked about that is because, like, you really got to kind of get into Barry's darkness and like all the potential horrible shit that Barry could get up to simply on the fact that he's so caring and so like he puts his heart into everything. Like if you heard him enough times, you could see like the dark reflection of like the hero is a really interesting concept for me. And I think Grant Gustin getting to really go into that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I'm not going to say his acting chops were underutilized. He did a really good job this whole season, but I think the whole fact that I grew up as a kid with the character Flash being the optimistic, happy-go-lucky character of the Justice League, seeing a completely dour season of the Flash just really didn't do it for me.
Yeah. Season 3 is dark, man. It's rough. Like, I completely understand where you're coming from.
That said, though, I loved everything with Draco Malfoy's actor. I never remember his name, but he's just a joy to watch everything he's in. But the other thing I watched this week, real quick, because I have to mention it, I finished the manga, or at least up to what's currently in production, of the Kaguya-sama Love is War manga.
Ooh!
And I watched the first episode with Amanda because I thought she would enjoy it, and she actually did kind of get into it, so...
Okay, alright.
I won't spoil anything, but they go in some great directions. You, Ryan, in particular, will love the Cultural Festival arc. It is the best thing I've seen in any rom-com ever. Any rom-com.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, it's that good.
I'll be doing that by myself. Because Allegra is not really one for rom-coms. Like, she doesn't seek them out.
I hear you. I hear you. You might change your tone on that one after you get a little bit into it, but I think it's definitely worth a look at the very least. So
okay.
give it a shot. Give it a
I
shot.
will.
And anyone else who's interested, please check it out again. Kaguya-sama Love Is War. Apparently, we're getting a live action adaptation coming soon.
Oh boy.
I'm like, you guys are fucking hauling ass on this thing. Jesus. Speaking of hauling ass, why don't we move on over to the film of the week? What do you say?
I'm so excited for this one.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us for the final Rage in the Cage this year. And it is a good one. It is 1997's Face Off. Directed by John Woo and written by Mike Werb and Michael Collieri. I think I pronounced that right.
Collieri? I don't know.
Grossing $128 million worldwide, this film made about 1.5 times what it cost. Not a big box office draw, unfortunately, but hey, we're having fun.
It also makes sense because they were doing a lot in this movie.
Oh yeah, no, it was an expensive one by the looks of it. So, the film stars legends John Travolta and Nick Cage, who we will spend most of the time talking about, without question, along with the other cast: CCH Pounder, Colm Fiore, Harve Presnell, Dominique Swain, Gina Gershon, Alessandro Nivola, and Joan Allen. Notable awards also include Saturn Awards for the Best Director and Best Writer from the Academy of Sci-Fi and Horror, the MTV Movie Award for Best On-Screen Duo, you know who, an Audience Award for the Best Foreign Motion Picture at the Rembrandt Awards, and a Jury Grand Prize to John Woo from the Sweden Fantastic Film Fest.
I love it. I 100% love this.
Mm-hmm. And that is all I've got. Ryan, you have some fun facts for me?
I do. And there's so much fun. We had to narrow it down because this whole thing is just a ball of laughs.
It was really hard to pick these. It was really hard.
But first off, Nicolas Cage and John Travolta spent 2 weeks together actually before filming to learn how to play each other. They decided on specific gestures and vocal cadences for each character that could be mimicked. This would have surprised me before we did this series because it's just Nick Cage. He's just gonna go out there and be ridiculous. But you know, as we like got more into his serious stuff and like we actually take a look at his acting method, you know, like I can really see where that time went. Like there are very specific things that happen in his acting and things that him and John also like play off of each other really, really well. So I 100% love this, and it really, really shows. Mm-hmm. Now, next up, the crew actually shot on Nicolas Cage's birthday. John Woo let Cage get emotionally charged up for a scene, and then surprised him with the birthday cake. Afterwards, Cage asked Woo not to do that again. And I really want to know what scene it was.
I'd like more detail on that too. The IMDb did not provide more than that, but it sounds like a fun time.
I really want to know because Cage does a lot of Cage does emotional gymnastics in this movie. So I would really love to know exactly which one that was. Let me see here. I have like a follow-up for that one, and this is just like something that I picked up from the GQ interview on YouTube. But Nicolas Cage's first day on set was actually the Hallelujah scene. It's when he's dressed up as a priest and he's walking past and he sees all of these people singing Handel's Messiah and he's just going nuts. And of course it's the first day of shooting, so no one really knows what to expect. And after they finish the first take, you know, John Woo says, "Okay, so we're doing that type of acting. All right, that's cool. We can go with it." So it's always fun. It's always fun when Nick Cage is on set.
I feel like John's hands off the reins for this one. It's like, listen, you guys seem to really have an idea what you want to do. I'm just going to tell you what needs to happen, and you just do it the way you think is best. That's what it feels like, at least.
Well, I feel like it also I feel like it really matched John Woo's style, and he actually goes into that in his interview, how he studied up on some of the previous works of John Woo, so he could really get a feel of like where the edge was and what kind of acting he could do. And he noted that John Woo is a really operatic director and really like puts a lot of elements of the opera into his films. So he says, okay, so I can really play off of that and have a ball with it. So I feel like they actually bounced off of each other really, really well and pushed each other to different extremes.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
we'll save that for the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I have more facts. Next up, Nicolas Cage didn't actually want to see the grotesque face makeup. So John Woo hid all reflective surfaces on set, which I could see as a kind of a kind of method, like where Caster never sees the fact that his fucking face is cut off, or at least until he's like watching the film, like while he's high on painkillers and waiting for the doctor to get there.
Yep, that was me.
So, I mean, just getting into the mindset of I can't see my face, but holy shit, they cut my face off. I could see that. So it's really, really cool. Last fun fact, the first real-life face transplant was accomplished in 2012 on Richard Norris, who accidentally shot himself in the face with a shotgun the same year the movie came out. What?
Okay, can I ask a question?
Please.
How does one accidentally shoot themselves in the face with a shotgun? Like, what circumstances allow that to happen?
My guess is it was something to do with cleaning, like either cleaning the shotgun, or like setting the shotgun down, like, and just a complete lack of firearm discipline and safety in any event. Yeah.
I'm just imagining the one episode where Homer Simpson is like pointing his gun and looking into the barrel, and it's like, I just imagine that's what happened. But anyway, moving on. So we'll get some initial thoughts out of the way real quick. So I've seen many references to this movie, the facial expressions, the online jokes and memes and everything, but I had never actually seen the film until 2 years ago, I think? 2 years ago? And I saw it for my birthday, because I wanted to see this. I'd heard so much about it. It sounds like the most weird-ass thing ever. And it was a blast to watch. It was with a buddy and the fiance. Great time. Seeing it again here, it's not as bombastically fun as it was last time. It was still a great movie. It was still fun to watch. But I think it's definitely a movie I enjoyed more because I had other people to riff on it with me and all that. So, I don't know. That's just my personal take.
That makes sense. Nah, I can see that. This is one of my childhood gems. This is some of the shit that I grew up with. When I think of early action films that really shaped my personality, and just how kind of off the wall I can be at times, I look to this. So this was, the nostalgia was heavy with me. I actually watched it with Allegra, who had never seen it before, and she
really?
could not believe the ridiculousness of this entire premise. She could not believe it. It was hilarious. It was hilarious to enjoy it with her. But also watching it with a more critical eye, and really trying to keep up with the emotional and the acting beats that Cage is not that I now know him for, and now I know what to look for in his acting method. It's actually really, really interesting and very layered in how he goes about it. So I it still has its boyhood appeal of crazy, amazingly extra actors that are essentially doing ballet with guns and just saying the most ridiculous things. But there's also a layer of subtlety underneath all of the craziness that I actually leads me to appreciate it more.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's going to be what we're talking about here today. Looking forward to it. Let us jump into a synopsis.
Do it!
After the death of his son, Sean Archer made it his life's mission to apprehend his killer, Castor Troy. Fast forward a few years, and the FBI are in pursuit of Castor Troy and his brother Pollux after placing down a bomb and grabbing some ass along the way. Archer gets them both, but the bomb is still in the loose. With Castor in a coma, they need to get Pollux to talk about the location of the bombs, but, he's a little tight-lipped, Johnny Tight-Lips. So obviously, experimental facial procedures are the way to go, and what's better than ripping off Castor's face and putting it on Sean? Nothing. That's exactly what every FBI agent should be willing to do for their country.
Yeah, that's of course. It's a sign of a true patriot.
Absolutely. Not wanting to get rid of abortions, taking other people's faces off. Sean successfully locates Pollux in the prison and gets the intel. However, things take a turn when the real Castor Troy wakes up from his coma to see his face is, well, it's kind of gone. He takes Sean's face, which the surgeon held onto for when the assignment was over, and infiltrates Sean's life. After killing the surgeon and everyone who knew about the assignment, Castor Archer taunts Sean Troy, releases Pollux from prison, and then disarms the bomb he placed in the beginning of the film to become a world-renowned hero. I'd do that. That sounds like a great plan. I love it.
Of course.
Disgusted by Castor Archer taking everything from his life, Sean Troy breaks out of prison and meets up with Castor's old posse, his former lover, and his estranged child. But Castor Archer figures out where he is and leads the FBI raid to said lair. A shootout happens, and Sean Troy is pretty injured, severely injured. Upon returning to the FBI HQ, the FBI director chews out Castor Archer, Castor Archer's reckless use of force, but conveniently has a heart attack, leaving him in charge of the FBI.
A heart attack. Mm-hmm.
And that's what the coroner's calling it. This would only make the goal of Castor Troy to rid the world of his terrorist rivals that much easier. Sean Troy manages to convince his wife that he is who he says he is with a blood test, and they prepare for a final showdown at Director Lazaro's funeral. After a ridiculous Mexican standoff, more shooting happens, a chase begins, first in the church, then with hostages, then on boats, and finally finishing him off on the beach. Castor Archer dies, Sean Troy wins, his face is restored, and his life is put back together. He even adopts Castor's estranged son, as the boy's mother was killed during aforementioned shootout. Even his asshole daughter is happy to see him. End of movie.
Why? Why? She's not an asshole. She's just a teenager.
All teenagers are assholes. This has been a quote by Aaron Waseska. You may put that on a shirt.
It's fair. It's quite fair. It's a fair assessment.
I was a teenager. I can admit that I was an asshole. It's
fine.
Fine.
I can also admit that I was an asshole when I was a teenager. Just like, oh, kid, what are you doing?
Don't get penisy, kid. Okay, so that was our movie. Ryan, overall thoughts. What are you thinking? What are you doing? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to start?
Shit. I will leave it to you to lead the discussion, because this is, I have nothing but fondness for this movie. Even in the most ridiculous bad things, I have nothing but fond things to say about this movie.
That's fair. Okay, let me begin with a very blatant question. Who or what exactly is Castor Troy? Like, he doesn't really act human. He acts like some sort of a strange... He acts like he's seen humans on TV, but he doesn't actually know how to be a human, and so he's just this otherworldly creature. It's just so interesting, but at the same time, it's just hard to understand and read what this man's ideas and motivations are.
All right, so here's my take on it. I don't think that Castor Troy as a character is super well developed. I think, you have the beats of just, he's this fucking psychopath, and he has a younger brother and they're both terrorists, but he loves his younger brother and would do anything to protect his younger brother. That's it. That's really all you get for the character. The rest of it is kind of a blank slate for Nick Cage to really do, for Nick Cage and by extension John Travolta to do whatever the fuck that they want to do. Now, I mentioned that John Woo really has an operatic style, and like it's really big. It's sweeping. There's a lot of orchestral music in the background. It's very like blatantly artistic, with the single white dove flying out. I think Nicolas Cage, like, I think the character in and of itself was kind of written like with broad strokes to kind of give Nick Cage a freedom to really do whatever he wanted to do with it. Whether or not the character was written to allow that to happen, or the character was just written poorly and Nick Cage was just like, oh, well, I guess I have a blank check to do whatever, I couldn't tell you. But I think he used it as an opportunity to really like push the envelope on it and get really big with facial expressions and just like becoming like the biggest character. I think it's really, really interesting when compared to his foil in Sean Archer, who in the beginning is really muted and reserved unless it's regarding fucking going to kill Castor Troy. So John Travolta gets to explore that huge ass personality while also having to wear the mask of a reserved person. So you get to see that intermixing. And when Sean puts on Castor's face, and Nick Cage, like for the majority of the movie, who gets to play Sean as Castor, or Castor as Sean, whatever, you know what
confusing.
I mean.
It's confusing.
Yes. But he gets to be a reserved person who has to act really big. At the same time, while wearing the face of the man who killed his son. So he's already having like really big emotions, and he kind of has to let that out, and he's really tightly like controlled, so he doesn't really get to do that often. And when it comes out, it's big and it's weird, and I like that. It's almost like a really interesting acting exercise where like the most ridiculous premises are stacked on top of each other, and these guys just get to go nuts with it. So I think that's what Castor Troy is. I think it's a really fun acting experiment, and to take a kind of two-dimensional villain and just make him larger than life.
I think you hit the nail on the head pretty good. I just can't imagine. Like what you say there, it definitely sounds like an acting exercise you'd see like an improv class. Like people act out a scene, and then the next round of doing the scene, you act in each other's roles, but still your character or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a really interesting way to do it, and it's handled pretty well here. And we'll get deeper into that here in a minute. But for me, I think Castor Troy, and this is gonna sound very philosophical here, but give me a minute.
All right.
I think he is an embodiment of chaos. Because he kind of is. He has no regard for anyone around him. He'll kill people, he'll kill children, he'll kill women, he'll do everything. He has no regard for boundaries. He is this destructive entity beyond means. I'm not going to compare him to Joker, because I think Joker and Batman's dynamic is very different in very nuanced ways.
Yeah.
But it's very similar by a big stretch. The only reason that it's different here, I think, is because the line between the two, him and Archer, it gets blurred when they do swap. Because then you have this chaotic entity, there we go, entering into this orderly world of Sean Archer and just slowly unraveling it. Meanwhile, you have Archer, who is in this chaotic world of Troy's, and just trying to pull himself together to be able to get through it and navigate it all. And it's a very interesting dynamic the two of them have, and I actually really like how it's played out here.
I like that a lot. And I think the biggest nod to your interpretation is when he gets to the penthouse with all the fucking drug dealers and whatnot, and he gets high on mescaline for the first time, like
Mm-hmm.
ever. Which I think is hilarious to consider straight-laced cop Sean Archer, like in this ridiculously stressful and like psychotic, like psychologically challenging situation to say, "Oh yeah, let's also take mescaline for the first time. That'll be fun." um, but seeing him like almost come apart in the waters that Castor Troy like normally swims in, and he's just kind of like trying to hold himself together in the midst of all of this chaos. I think it speaks exactly to what you were just getting to. So I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Sean Archer, I do have a question. What is the meaning behind that hand gesture, or is it just a tick that he has?
I like, in all honesty, I think it was just it's just a familial gesture that he has with his family, just a kind of like a non-verbal thing that they do, that conveys affection. Allegra hated it. She was like, "Germs, ew, what the fuck are you doing?" Got your finger in my mouth. What are you doing?
I think after we saw this movie the first time, Amanda and I did that to each other for about a week, and then we got tired of doing it. I started it, and then she just did it to fucking mess with me. So
I broached the topic because I'm gonna be seeing her in about a week, and she was like, "No, absolutely not.
You should catch her by surprise and just do it for funsies. Just see what happens."
Yeah, but I don't want to get slapped.
One slap is a minor offense. It's all it is. Just don't do it when she's in an overly good mood. A good enough mood where she won't hate you for it, but but not so good that it ruins whatever good mood she's in.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it like after like she notably sees me put hand sanitizer on my hands.
That's a smart move. Hey. Smart move. Okay. So in this film, where the two leads have something like an identity crisis, does the daughter's desire to find herself mean anything to the film? Because she's kind of going through the teenage like years of like trying to discover who she is, changing her wardrobe, changing her attitude, her persona, and then you have her dad going through this like, "Oh, I'm Castor Troy, no, I'm Sean Archer. Who the fuck am I? No." Like, there's something there, right?
I think there is. I think it. I think the stories parallel each other in very minor ways. I think like if they had done more with the daughter,
mm-hmm.
it could definitely have been more poignant. I think it's definitely intentional that she's going through this type of crisis when the whole movie is literally trying to figure out who the fuck you are and what face you have on. I think it could also say something more that, she starts getting like actually like good advice from fucking Castor Troy, who's masquerading as her father, as opposed to Sean Archer, who is her actual dad, but just isn't paying attention. So it's interesting that he was able to kind of cut through all the bullshit that she was going through when he's like, "You haven't been the same since Mike died. And you're you're trying out new things, being a different person every week, trying to mask the pain." And it was like a really insightful thing, even though he's the guy who killed her brother. And has just been there for a week simply to fuck with Sean Archer. Mm-hmm. So I liked that dichotomy. And I think there's definitely more that could have been done there. But it was already a damn near 2.5 hour movie.
It's a pretty long movie. It's a pretty long movie.
I forgive them for not fleshing out her storyline more, because there was a lot that this movie had to do. And that was just an extra thing that they wanted to tack on. It's interesting, but if you were going to do something like that, then you should have done more with it, in my opinion.
Actually, so her her struggles that aren't covered well enough. I don't think. I think they definitely could have dived in more to it, but they would need to divert some stuff from the main plot, and you can't. There's too much. But her story and the story of the main characters, I think it ties really well into the concept we discussed. I think it was literally just last week or the week ago or 2 weeks ago, maybe. It depends when that episode came out. When we discussed the idea of personas within the personas within the main characters, because I'm gonna dive into a bit of a bullshit here. Give me a minute. So, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, I'm gonna read this real quick. Persona, in psychology, is the personality that an individual projects onto to others as differentiated from the authentic self. The term was coined by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung and is derived from the Latin persona, meaning referring to masks worn by mimes and such. This film kind of takes that to a literal extreme almost, with the characters having to don the personas of their counter opposites and literally wear their face as masks to get through these new worlds of theirs. And it's just a very interesting way to jab at that psychological concept. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you.
And this is, of course, coming from the guy who loves the Persona games, which also dive into this a lot. So that clicked with me in a way that I don't think other films do quite as well or as like on the nose. So I don't know. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, you can just write it off as ridiculous 90s action with the most silly ass premise ever, and just a lot of guns and explosions and boats. Like that's all there. But there's also really like interesting things, story wise and acting wise, that they're actually doing if you just give it a chance and actually like dig a little deeper into it. So yes, I love it, and I agree with what you're saying there about personas.
So I asked this question on the list, and we don't have to cover it in too much. I asked about Gulf War syndrome because I've never heard of the term before. I looked it up actually, and now I'm going to do a little more reading here real quick. Gulf War syndrome, for those who are not aware, a medical condition affecting many veterans of the 1991 Gulf War, obviously, causing fatigue, chronic headaches, and skin and respiratory disorders. Its origin is uncertain, though it has been attributed to exposure to a combination of pesticides, vaccines, and other chemicals. So, not very pleasant. Not pleasant at all.
Not pleasant at all.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. While it was written this way, how lucky is it for both Sean and Archer that they're the same race to make the face swap both possible and believable to deceive the world around them?
Oh, it's not. It's not luck. That's how the screenwriters wrote.
No, I didn't even say that. While it was written this way, if this was like the actual scenario, like it's pretty damn lucky because like one of them could have been like a shade darker, shade lighter, Asian, whatever, and it would have thrown the whole thing off.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. Yes, like that's definitely one of the contrivances of the movie that the movie makes, is like to make this ridiculous premise even slightly believable. Because like as my like Allegra was watching it and she was flipping out when he said, "Well, your blood types don't match, but they won't know that." And she's like, "How are you transplanting something from one body that runs on an entirely different blood type to another body? What is this? This sounds like the most..." I'm like,
I wrote something similar to that down too, where it's like, how are these guys not going to get infected? Because, let me see, where's that? Here it is. Shouldn't they cut the hair after the mask goes on to reduce possible infections?
Yeah, she also got into that too. She's like, this is the most unsanitary thing I have ever seen. Like, his face is literally cut off and bleeding through bandages, and they're just like, snip, 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 snip. Like he's like she's fucking Vidal Sassoon or some shit. I'm like, what are you doing? It was hilarious. Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's a lot like the science in The Flash. It's not 100% accurate by any means, and in this particular scenario, it's exaggerated to no ends. And so, stuff like this is going to definitely not be true to science in real life. You will not be cutting anyone's hair with their face removed. You will not be swapping faces if the blood types don't match. But, for the sake of having a fun story, we had to do it this way.
Yeah,
and it's weird.
Also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And it's weird that their blood types don't match to make the facial swap happen like in a more realistic way, because that blood type differential is what gives him the ability to prove who he is. It's ridiculous. Like, you need one to do the other, but you can't have both.
Yeah, like that's literally a crux of the movie. It's just like, well, our blood types don't match, so that's the only way I can actually like let my wife, who is a doctor, like give her proof that I am actually who I say I am. But if you swap body test, okay, so that's gonna start at a brand new audio track, and I am very sorry.
So you were saying before you were rudely interrupted by your computer.
Fuck, what was I saying?
We were talking about the sanitation problems of this surgery and how I said that it's unrealistic, and but you need those plot contrivances of the blood type differentials and whatnot to make the stuff happen. So they go back and forth on whether it works or not. You know.
Yeah, it's almost a little self-defeating. At the same time, it's like it is a contrivance of the movie to say like, well, we can't have the whole third act without this because it's literally the only thing that he can use to prove that he is who he says he is. But at the same time, I forget what blood type Sean is. It's O negative, isn't it?
I think so, because I think Castor is AB.
Right, I know Castor's AB. I think Sean is O negative. If O negative is like the universal donor, then it makes semi-sense. It almost makes sense. But if it's not, then oh dear God, what are we doing?
Well, wait. So I think O is the either universal donor or universal receiver, and then AB is the opposite of that, right?
Oh shit.
Okay, we're gonna look this up real quick because I need science here. Okay, universal blood type. Let's see. The universal blood type is O negative. Donors with O negative have the unique power to help anyone in need of blood, regardless of other types. So that's that one. And here's blood types explained. Let's see what it says about AB, because I actually don't know very well. This is the part of the podcast where we learn about things. Hang on a second, everybody. Let's see. So AB negative. Let's see. Let's look. AB negative, less than 1% of the population have AB negative blood, making it the least common blood type among Americans.
It's just AB, though. I don't think it's AB negative.
Let's see. Patients with AB negative blood type can receive blood cells from all negative blood types. AB positive. AB positive blood type is known as a universal recipient. Yep, that's what I was looking for. So AB positive, if that's what he is, he can receive from anybody, and O can give to anybody. So
yeah, so they specifically did that so that it would make a modicum of sense. Okay, they actually thought a bit ahead on that.
Though in that case, though, I feel like Sean's face that he receives would not function super well because, again, he's receiving the one that he probably shouldn't be getting. He's not the universal receiver; he's just a universal donor. Which would make sense why he's always looks like he's in pain when he's like slapping his face and freaking out and stuff.
Don't think about it too long. Don't think about it too hard.
No, I'm saying like there's moments in the prison and everything where he looks like he's like trying to scratch the face off or at least like scratching at it or something like that, like it's uncomfortable. And I think if that's what they're going for, that works kind of not in a way that you'd catch right away, but once you read that up and look at it, it's like that actually kind of fits.
I don't know. I feel like if it was actually like what you call it?
He'd actually be sick. But it
would be like transplant rejection, just like necrosis, and just like it'd be bad news.
If they had put some effort into making his face look like it was falling off or rotting or like just not looking good by the end of it, that actually would have gone a little bit further to prove that. But what we got is fine, I think, for what we're doing. It's an action film.
At the end of the day, it was a 1997 action film, and like it was a 1997 action film with operatic overtones that nobody really caught, and everybody just really wanted to see Nick Cage and John Travolta be ridiculous and shoot at each other.
Mm-hmm. Where am I at here now? Let's see. Going on to the convenience of their blood types and whatnot. Why were there no restraints on Castor Troy when he was in a coma? I get it. He was in a coma. But every other cop show I've seen, whenever someone's in the hospital who's a suspect or a criminal, conscious or not, they are in handcuffs. They cannot escape. What happened? Who dropped the ball on this one? I need to know.
The screenwriter. That's again. It's a contrivance of the movie because if he wakes up in the middle of the night and he's restrained, he's stuck. He's not gonna do shit.
Yep.
But if he gets up and he's free, and they're just like, well, we're not gonna put handcuffs on him. He's in a fucking coma. Yeah, no, like that was bad policing right there. That was real bad policing.
I wanted to see. There's a series I watch on YouTube called Pitch Meeting where they go over a film, but they like pitch it as if they're like gonna make the film, but they leave in all the goofy bullshit that doesn't work after the fact. And I kind of want to see them do this movie because I think it'd be kind of fun to see what kind of dumb jokes they make out of this. But I think that'd be like one of them.
Yeah, I would love to see that too.
Yeah. Wait a minute. How come Castor Troy's able to go and find Sean Archer if he's going to be restrained? Oh, that's no problem. He's not going to be restrained at all. What? But shouldn't the cops be keeping an eye on him? Nah, that's fine. They got other things to do. Oh, okay then. Let's see. So let's get to the core of the discussion here. The main draw of this film, obviously, is Travolta's performance as both his character in the exaggerated Troy persona and Nick Cage's insane persona, followed by his toned-down variation on the Travolta-style performance. What a fucking masterpiece of, like, back and forth, like, synergy these two have. Like, there's just... I can't think of another pair of actors I've seen who have been able to emulate each other as well as these two have done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, when it comes to remakes and such, I think some actors can do a good job portraying a role of that someone else did and carrying on with it in their own style, but still keeping true to the original performance. But these two are doing something a little bit different, where they're doing completely original characters and then swapping them halfway through while still being their own character in the other character's person, so to speak. And it's just such a bizarre concept and idea, and just seeing these two do it, like, on a professional level, it's just something that is just you're kind of in awe about, you know?
Yeah, no. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, you can kind of brush this off as just like a weird shoot 'em up with like crazy ass like music and just ridiculous premises. But no, the acting chops required for this type of endeavor is really staggering. And I'm actually kind of surprised it only took them 2 weeks to really work out like stuff that they wanted to share. And I think it speaks to the seriousness and the acting chops of Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. Because like they both committed to doing like really big over the top performances, but they also committed to doing like to having like the subtle things built into that over the top performance, which really like is what opera's all about. I mean, if you think of any staged performance, like everything has to be big and exaggerated so that everybody watching the stage can see it. There's no like really small facial movements because you don't have a big ass camera in your face to capture every single like nuance and like every squinting of your eye. Everything has to be big and blown out to really convey what's going on. I love that both of them committed to doing that, but they also were able to inject shades of subtlety in their portrayals of each other. I think one of the best shots in this movie, like personally, just from an artistic standpoint, is towards the end of the shoot off in that penthouse, right before Pollux gets tossed through a window and whatnot, and they're talking to each other while taking cover behind the same mirror. And they figure like, okay, let's just go ahead and kill each other. We can't switch back, so let's just fucking go kill each other. And they both turn towards the mirror, and they're wearing the other person's face, but they're shooting at
the person they want to shoot.
They want to shoot. So it's like the mirror is actually like a window to who they're actually killing. and I think it's one of the best shots ever. I think it was just one of the most artistic shots I've ever seen in a shoot 'em up. It was fantastic, and I love that to this day.
Has John Woo done anything recently? I actually have no idea.
The other thing that I know John Woo for, he did Mission Impossible 2.
He's still alive, so he's got to be doing something.
Yeah.
He did Manhunt in 2017. The Crossing and Crossing 2 in both 2014-15. Mission Impossible 2 in 2000. There's some stuff in between, but there's like, other than Mission Impossible 2, he hasn't really done anything that I'm familiar with. Nothing I've even heard of.
Yeah. I think
That's interesting.
It also looks like he's mostly doing like foreign films.
Yeah, it might be what's going on here. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I get it. That's your homeland. That's what you want. You want to work with your people and in your, like, you know, your home field advantage and whatnot. I get it. But man, I gotta see more of his stuff because this is pretty intense and fun stuff going on here.
Yeah. I mean, like also when you consider like Chinese opera, like I think there's definitely some shades of that as well. He's a very operatic filmmaker, and there's a heavy bent in that, like in everything in the stuff that I've seen him do. It makes sense that he got his start with the Shaw Brothers Studio, which is a China-based studio, and like doing movies like that for them, and then actually getting a shot at making some big name American films, and then going back. I think that makes sense because I don't think Mission Impossible 2 was amazingly well received. It was a very big departure from the original one, and I personally love it. I mean, I love the Mission Impossible series, but I loved 2. It was just a very different take from 1. Like between 1 and 3, Mission Impossible 2 is a very different thing.
I've heard from a lot of people on podcasts that they weren't a big fan of 2. A lot of people say it's probably their least favorite one, and I understand that. It's kind of like certain movies in your franchise that just do something radically different, like Iron Man 3, for example. A lot of people don't like Iron Man 3 because it does do a lot of things that are different from the rest of the MCU, and the MCU kind of course corrects back to what its usual stuff is not long afterward.
Yeah.
And I personally like Iron Man 3. I think it's a great film. Same with Lost World Jurassic Park. It does some different stuff. It gets a little darker and does some weird stuff, but it's still probably my favorite one of the bunch. So I feel like it's not so much that I'm trying to go against the popular decision of hating it, but just like I kind of see what these films doing different things are trying to do. Yeah. And in the cases where it works, like the ones we just mentioned, I think that they are definitely worth a look, especially because, like, come on, guys. I mean, do you want to see the same popcorn movie action stuff that you see in every film, or do you want to see something that's like challenging and different? I'm always for the different stuff myself.
I mean, there are a lot of people that are going to say it's bad because it's different.
Yep. Tokyo Drift is a good example. Tokyo is a great example.
Well, there's also the things that are different and bad.
Hey now, I like Tokyo Drift. Man. I think it's part of my... To be fair, though, I didn't like the first couple of Fast and Furious films. That's the first one I think that clicked with me personally.
Yeah, okay, then that's fair. It was I guess it was meant for a different audience, really, possibly. I mean, but at the same time, so like I was saying, like there are a lot of people that'll say it like different is bad just straight out the gate, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But I think that when things are radically different, especially in like big blockbuster movies, the investors and producers, they want to go with stuff that's guaranteed to make money. So if you do something that's like completely out of the fucking box and it doesn't like instantly like make bank, then they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that again. Okay, goodbye. There will be times where they'll do something different and then everybody will get into it and they'll say, well, yeah, okay, keep doing that. But 9 times out of 10, especially if you're in like an actual established like series, like it's the sequel to Mission Impossible. It's Tom Cruise. We want to make this like an actual thing. Sure, we'll give it a shot and see what happens. See like a different how a different spin might do it. Doesn't really work. Okay, this guy's out of here. We're going back to something something closer to what we know works to get a better return of our investment.
Well, and the problem too is it's a twofold problem. You can either do your weird film, like your one-off film, with the name of your franchise, and then risk having everyone backlash saying, no, it's not part of the franchise, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Or you do the thing that should work that better, make a whole new movie with a whole new name, but still use this premise that's similar to what you were already working on. Because, I mean, if you're not doing, like a good example is like Halloween 3, for example. It tries to do something radically different from the main Halloween series, with no Michael Myers or anything like that. But the problem is they still use the Halloween name, and people who people who see it are like, oh, this is going to be another Michael Myers film, and will be very disappointed when Michael Myers is not in the movie. So, yeah, there's a case where doing one-off weird things with your franchises is not a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, without that name recognition, will it make money? That's the question most of those studios are asking.
Yeah. I mean, like the goings on of like the American movie industry. It's really interesting. Like it would be really interesting simply from like without all of like the slime and the backroom underhanded like politicking that goes on in Hollywood. Like it, like even in a perfect world with all of that stuff, like the decisions on what movies get made and what movies don't is very interesting because there's a lot of shit to consider. And like like you get people that are tired of the same movies like all the fucking time, but at the same time movies take a lot of money to produce and people aren't gonna put up these millions and millions of dollars unless they know they're gonna get a good return on their investment. So we kind of have to, like, most people are gonna want to stick with the shit that they know works so that they can at least make some money on it. And
so Ryan, what you're telling me here is we need to fast track a 40 character superhero movie that's going to cross over all these different superheroes from everything right now to make as much money as possible. As fast as possible. It can't possibly backfire. It can't.
No, it can't. By the way, how's that new job at DC going? How's that?
Great. We just signed on for like fucking what's the one guy? Darkseid and his army against some other fuckers. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to that meeting. That's like all Zack Snyder's job.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like good ideas. Good ideas. Surely this one will actually work.
Yep. Full of bug people and inappropriate references. It'll be great.
God damn it.
I like how we did that theme month like ages ago, and we're still harping on that.
Because it's still bad.
It's still relevant. It's still a big deal. Okay. Getting way off track here. So, Ryan, back to this movie here. One or two final questions here. If you did design a maximum security prison, how would you design it, and what would be your method for keeping people from escaping? Here's my thing.
Yeah.
Underground prison. Deep as possible without, getting, so deep that you can't, like, fucking get stuff to the prison for, like, food and shit. Get it as deep as possible. So that way, they aren't, gonna be able to, like, escape easily in terms of, like, oh, hey, I can just, like, walk out, I can just swim out of here. No, you gotta tunnel out of this shit. If you're miles under the Earth's surface, you ain't getting out anytime soon.
Yeah, that's pretty damn good. That is pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, in all honesty, now if we're going with the fantastical route, the micro prison is the perfect prison. Straight up, it's just straight up the perfect prison because it's got like it takes up damn near no resources, and like it takes up damn near no resources, It runs on it runs like it takes up no space, and like you can build all of these crazy ass security systems into it, and even if somebody's big and bad enough to get out of it, there's still a fucking ant when they get out. So I'm like, come on, B, go back inside, go back in the box.
Go back and we'll let you out when you're ready. Last question. So the film takes place in it takes place in 2002. It was made in 1997. And the technology to do anything like what we see here with the face swap does not exist until 2012. With that in mind, just how unbelievable is this process that these two undergo in the film?
It's pretty fucking unbelievable. The central conceit of the movie with this face swap requires like the strongest suspension of disbelief I have ever seen. And I love it. I 100% love it. But, you know, looking at it as a near 30-year-old guy, I'm like, yeah, you guys are asking a lot of the audience to be like, sure, this works. Like, you know what? Fuck it. I just want to see Nick Cage acting like John Travolta and John Travolta acting like Nick Cage. I will go with you. I mean, I think they do so much work to try and make it seem believable, but at the same time, it's kind of self-defeating because the entire purpose is just like the most ridiculous shit ever. I think of when they get to the doctor is describing the procedure before we like really get to like what it actually is, and he's like, this is a state-of-the-art morphogenetic template. The inside is modeled on your skull. The outside is exactly like Castor's. Then we fit his face on top. So what it sounded like was that there was going to be like a mask essentially affixed to your skull so that it fit your skull, but then the outside would fit Castor's skull so that the fucking face would fit correctly. And then after all of that and all of this scientific mumbo jumbo to make you actually buy into it, all they used that state-of-the-art morphogenetic template was to suck dude's face off and put it on the other guy just straight away. I'm like, wow.
Gotta love that technobabble just to try to oversell the concept.
You completely went against what the fuck you just said. And everybody's just like, no, if we throw enough big words at them and we have Colm Fiore do it because he's boss, if you just have him say enough smart words, they'll be like, yeah, all right, cool, I'm with you.
Well.
We're putting his face on the other guy. It's cool.
Well, if you all out there want to quadrilaterate with us and maybe even send us some metachlorians, the best way to conversationate with us is to go to Facebook, Tumblr, or Twitter. Or you can, what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh yeah, you can ascend your message to Ryan. What's the place they can send their message to?
You can send that message to state-of-the-art morphogenetic template at excuse me, sorry. You can send that to evacstation at gmail.com.
Technobabble. Okay, so let's go to the final segment here, which is where we rank the film from platinum to shit and all the colors in between. Ryan, I think I know where you want to put this, but I'll let you go ahead and throw it out there. What do you got?
You know what? I love that you say that because it infers that you know what I'm thinking before I do. Because we always get to this part and I'm like, man, shit, what am I going to put it on? And you're always usually right. I love this movie. I love this movie. This is it's near and dear to my heart. Because I saw it when I was a child and I've loved it all the time. I can also really appreciate the more subtle things that they're doing with it. That being said, it does require you to suspend your belief super hard. So, I'm going to give this a gold because at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of ridiculous shoot-'em-up action with two really like crazy actors that are just having a blast, and they're doing really subtle stuff. So if you can just let them go with the premise, you're gonna have a grand old time.
Yep, I'm gonna concur with that as well. I definitely think that this is probably a fun movie to watch with friends, and definitely a fun movie just to kind of sit back and just enjoy the action. But if you really want to dig deep into some of the stuff they're doing, there's actually some clever ideas happening here that, if you're actually looking for them, will just push the enjoyment of the film to another level. So definitely worth checking out. I actually thought you were going to go platinum, because I remember when we were recording The Rock, Bo gave you shit about not giving this a platinum, and you had said specifically, there's something else in this we're going to be doing that I know is going to be a platinum.
Right.
And I thought this is going to be it.
Right. Whoops. Oh, that was eons ago, Cagliostro. I'm a liar.
To be fair, though, Leaving Las Vegas did steal the platinum rank from you, I think.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, because I already gave the platinum to Leaving Las Vegas.
So I had assumed the whole time this was going to be it, and then when you gave it to Las Vegas, I'm like, oh, he'll give 2 instead then. Okay, that'll be interesting.
Damn. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sorry. I planned this the whole time. I was leading you to believe that it would obviously be my childhood favorite movie, but in fact, it was the Oscar winner because it was amazing. Indeed.
Gotta give it to those Oscar winners, because the Academy always knows what they're talking about and has never, ever, ever been wrong about any decision they've ever, ever made. Ever.
Yes, and all of their decisions are based 100% by the artistic impact of the film. It has nothing to do with political standpoints or anything like that, or backroom politicking or anything.
And they, by all means, don't support abortion, because that's I hear it's a bad. You don't please don't listen to that. That's not true. You should free choice, everybody, free choice. Anyway, that is our chat for the week. Thank you for joining us. Next week, Ryan, I think we're going to get into some spooky shit.
More spooky shit. Alright, fine. Fucking fine.
Starting next week, we'll be taking our faces off to put some masks on and enjoy this year's Terror Time, which is all zombie-themed. I'm excited.
Yay. Allegra's excited too. She's going to be watching all of this with me.
Hey, if she wants to partake in these episodes, I would be happy to have some more voices on here.
She's shy, but I will pitch it to her.
Hey, if it's something she's passionate about, I think she'll be able to open up more. At least that's my theory. So,
I'll ask. I'll straight up ask. Yeah.
And then after we do our round of zombie films, tune in November. Do I have a schedule up for that? I know it's the first week in November. I don't remember what day it is, but the first week in November begins our journey to a galaxy far, far away to round out the year of 2019. It'll be a good year. It'll be a good year.
It will be a good year.
So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time after the credits.
Bye.